I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome along to the Tricky Talks podcast. Coming up in this episode, we'll break down the loss at Leeds, but hopefully look forward to a win v Wolves. I am in the company of Chelsea, as always. How are you doing? And I gather you're a bit bleary-eyed today, having stayed up to watch the Super Bowl like myself last night.
Yeah, I'm a bit bleary-eyed, to be honest. I did have a nap before I came on, but it hasn't quite made me as awake as what I hoped. But yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Yeah, you and I were chatting very briefly during the game, weren't we? And trying to shed some light on the game. Was our equivalent of, or my equivalent of watching Derby in the FA Cup final, wasn't it? In that I was seriously rooting against the New England Patriots.
Yes, and I was sitting with people who were very much rooting for them. So I was like, oh this is very interesting.
Well, it all prevailed well, didn't it? Because the Patriots thankfully lost. Right, Kate is here as always. Kate, how are you? You're probably wondering what the hell we're talking about.
I've got no idea what you're talking about. All I know is that some guy called Big Bunny upset Trump. Other than that, I've got nothing.
Yeah, Big Bunny indeed. Enough is said about the halftime show, the better, because it was a load of rubbish, I think. But Molo, you probably didn't stay up and watch it either, did you?
No, not this year. I have done in the past because of all the fuss around it, but ultimately, just the fact they call themselves world champions and all that sort of stuff. I'm not a massive fan, shall we say. It's I've watched the odd game, but I prefer real football, not pretend gridiron. Well,
I'm a big fan, as you know. Enough said about that, the better, of course. But let's get cracking on to Leeds then. We have to get it out of the way, of course. And Forest suffered a 3-1 defeat at Ellen Road to firmly cement themselves back in the relegation fight. Not that they were ever going to be out of it, of course, but a win would have done wonders for that gap between themselves and West Ham. I want to start, guys, with right at the start with the team selection, because we talked on the pod last week knowing Nico Williams was going to be missing, wondered what the permutations for the back four were, and we speculated Morato would play at left back if indeed he was fit, and it turned out he would have played at left back had he been fit. We also speculated, would Zach Abbott make an appearance at right back, and sure enough he did. But it was always going to be difficult, wasn't it, with 50% of your first choice back four missing in a hotbed that is Ellen Road. And we'll start with you, Chelsea. What were your reactions when you saw the team sheet come out?
It was one of them ones where it was a case of just filling in gaps at that point, and I think we kind of all knew what might have been happening, and we were all kind of guessing, well, if, maybe, should, because we all know the back four, you know, of Murillo, Milenkovic, Aina and Williams as well. Obviously we knew he wasn't going to be turning up. Obviously absolutely gutted about Murillo, and as soon as we knew that he was carrying an injury, for me that was like game set and done already in my mind, if I'm completely honest. I know I shouldn't be like that, I should still have that bit of hope, but that's just how the cards fell, unfortunately. I was worried for Zach Abbott, but even though in my mind I did say in the last pod that I would have started him, because really we were struggling with any other options, but at some points it did seem like he was fed to the lions a bit, bless him. But it's one of them games you're a bit heartbroken by, and it is 3-point loss in 3 points that we really needed, taken away from Leeds and obviously gaining for us, but it's just one of them games.
Yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall, wasn't it, Kate, when we realised Murillo was missing, and of course you throw in Sells being omitted as well. It's like 3/5 of your back five. As I say, the writing was pretty much on the wall, wasn't it? What were your thoughts? And I want to talk about that team selection, actually, because with Abbott at right back and Aina switched to left back and Morato coming in, was that the right selection, do you think, given the fact they'd signed a full back in a few days prior?
So we were just crawling in the pre-match traffic heading towards Elland Road. We could see it, but we could get to it. You know, when you're driving and you're like, it would be quicker to walk. When the phones started pinging with the team news and Des Alden's voice booms from the back of the car, we're going to get battered. And then, of course, we did. And it was one of those moments, wasn't it? You read it and you go, crap. Because what else can you say? You know, we weren't expecting Murillo not to feature. We knew there was a little bit of doubt, and we talked about that and Sells, but you just saw it and you just thought, no, that can't be the best option somehow. And yet, like you say, we're talking about what we would do, and is it that far removed from what we said on the pod? Probably not. And yet, just to see it there in front of you on your phone as a team selection, it was just a moment where you thought, oh no. And I would say that having that team selection doesn't excuse the poor performance, and that is really, really important. And I know that Dyche has gone on to say similar, that, you know, they might be out of position, but they should be able to kick a ball, head a ball, and all that jazz. And to a degree, I agree with that. I think there's accountability for Friday night across players and coaches and managers alike. But yeah, ultimately, it's just not what you want to see when you're just about to go into the ground against Leeds and you can already hear them shouting, even from the car. So, disappointing selection, yes. Hindsight's a beautiful thing. Most of all, disappointing performance.
Let's talk about Zach Abbott, Mollo, because they did sign a fullback in the days leading up to the game, and he seems to be young but a quite experienced fullback with over 100 Bundesliga appearances to his name. Was it too soon to throw him in, do you think, given his experience? Or does the fact that he's only been in the squad for a couple of days and probably wouldn't have trained that much with them, wouldn't have known the system as well as obviously he may do for future games, did Sean Dyche still make the right call there, do you think?
Well, Kate's alluded to it, 2020 vision, isn't it, hindsight? It was the right call all day long. You know, he's had 2 training sessions. What's frustrating the life out of me in terms of the complaints about team selection is, in this 4-match unbeaten run we had, it went very quiet. Now we've lost one, they're looking for things that aren't there. So let's be absolutely clear. You only have to look at Leeds' home record and that ridiculous stat that they've not lost under the lights for about 100 games, whatever it is. At full strength, with every single player, we still would have found it very, very tough to get anything there. All this talk about we need 3 points, people are semi-deluded. We did it at Brentford, and fair play, but I think we all said, didn't we, last time out, we'd bite your hand off for a point before the injuries. Zach Abbott is a very good young player with a very promising future. Whether that future in the Premier League or not is going to depend a lot on his physical capabilities or his ability to turn himself from a centre-back into a right-back. We don't yet know. He's played an FA Cup semi-final, he's played a few games in Europe, albeit against second-rate opposition, and he's come off the bench a few times in the Premier League. Where's he going to learn if he doesn't play? There's no reserve team, not sent him out on loan anywhere, and nobody knows anything about this left back apart from he had 10 minutes at the end of the game when the game was done and dusted, and he looked very composed, and I'm very hopeful he'll be a good player. The other point is, with the team selection, short memories. We signed Ola Aina as a left back. People forget that. It's just the way circumstances have unravelled over the last couple of years. He's now our right back, and our right back we signed has gone to left back and done a great job of it. So the defeat had absolutely nothing to do with team selection other than the inability to be able to pick our modern day Des Walker, if you like, at the back. I know he's a far more proficient footballer, but defensively wise, you know, no Murillo, no backdoor shutting, so to speak, is there? Now, it's not to disrespect the people who come in for him, who sometimes struggle, but when you've got that unbelievable acceleration and recovery pace and reading the game and everything else he seems superb at, and I think we've now seen enough evidence to see that Milenkovic isn't the same player without Murillo next to him, which is understandable. Milenkovic is still a fantastic player, but he's missing his partner without a doubt. all of that combined, and the idiocy that we've seen online these last few days, we should have played this player there and that player there. Are they watching the same game? We had two centre midfielders who were absolutely garbage on the night, and fair play, they've been really good this season and lately, but they were both garbage. The guy who shuts off a side of the pitch normally got skinned in Dominguez. Callum didn't have his best game, and we missed a sitter when we were 0-0. So everything transpires together, but it wasn't the team selection. Anyone who thinks that is deluded. And the tactics. Leeds came out of the blocks, all guns blazing, and we couldn't breathe for the first 15 minutes. Unfortunately, we managed to weather that storm with a bit of luck. Had a chance at the other end which we missed, and then we've conceded a Sunday League style goal that every single Forest fan I know said the same thing. With Murillo on the pitch, that doesn't happen. Where did that goal start, by the way? From somebody not tracking the right back runner. Who was our left back on the night that's supposed to... I'm not getting on his case about it, but the delusion of what people are saying and all these tactical genius managers, and we should have picked this player, we should have picked that player. We didn't have enough high quality players to beat Leeds on the night, as simple as that. And we should be doing better.
Yeah, you touched on it briefly, Mollo, with the two centre midfielders being off form. Callum was off form. It seemed as though everybody had a down night. Was that down to Leeds, do you think, Chelsea, playing above their level? Like Mollo said again, they do have this good record of playing at home this season anyway, so it would have been difficult enough regardless. Do you think there was a lack of... Was it Leeds being good? Was it Forest being off form? Or just generally, was there a lack of fight, do you think?
I think in terms of being tactical and skillful, I don't think Leeds are the best in the Premier League, let's put it that way. I think their defence is quite poor, if I'm honest. But I think Forest gave them a lot of respect. I think we gave them a bit too much respect. And they very quickly controlled the game, and echo what Mollo said, they did come out all guns blazing, and that was what they wanted to do. And they obviously probably looked at our team sheet and realised that there was weak links here, and Murillo wasn't playing, Sells wasn't in goal, and they used it to their own advantage, and fair play to them. And I do really believe that our team is built from Sells and the defence up, and I feel like if we did have Morato there and Sells in goal, I feel like that would have then made Anderson and Sangare play better, Dominguez would have done, and I just think having that security of that brick wall at the back really does have a huge impact on us. But fair play to Leeds, they wanted it, and they came out, they soared and they conquered.
Yeah, they got their tactics spot on early days, didn't they, Kate, in trying to attack Zach Abbott right from the first whistle, and I think that it was very difficult, almost like he was being thrown in at the deep end, wasn't he? But like Mollo said, he's got to get the minutes under his belt somehow. Hopefully this experience will do him good. He certainly got a rough end of the stick, didn't he, against Leeds?
He absolutely did. I feel like he was always going to. And, I've seen phrases about him being thrown under the bus. I don't think that's really fair. And I think it was a bad night. I think it was a bad night for pretty much everybody. And he is a really obvious target, isn't he? Because he's potentially playing out of position. It's his first start in the Premier League. We're away to Leeds. Like, everybody's looking for someone to blame and put this down to. Again, this was a collective error. It wasn't just Zach Abbott. And I will say that when he did get substituted, he was applauded off by the away fans, despite the night we were having and despite what we had seen. And I think that's really important, because all the keyboard people that are out there throwing you poison and talking about why he shouldn't have done this and why he shouldn't play him again, blah, 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 blah. It was all his fault. There's also been stuff around Dominguez, not like all of that. We were there. We applauded him off. And I really want to make that point, because I've got a lot of time for Zach Abbott. I do think he will go on to be a great player. We haven't sent him out on loan. We are trusting him to be a part of our squad, and as Mollo said, that comes with minutes. There aren't very many harder minutes than those ones that he played on Friday night. And do you know what? Well done to him for standing up and having a go. All right, it wasn't brilliant, It was potentially never going to be. They were going to target him. All of those other things come into play. But again, collective errors, not just Zach Abbott. So
the key point about Zach Abbott, though, Kate, that people have missed, none of the goals came down his side. Not one of them. Yeah, there was a few times he got beat early on, but not one of the goals came down his side. And he might even have scored himself if Gibbs-White had have not been so greedy. And I'm not saying he had a good game, of course I'm not, and Zach Abbott will know that himself. You know, he held up a side, he did reasonably well getting forward. Yeah, he got skinned a few times. You shouldn't get beat one-on-one as easily as he did, and people saying he was hung out to dry. I'm thinking, well...
Again, who won their one-on-ones? It's not just Zach Abbott, is it? Who won them?
Exactly.
And the whole team?
Ryan Yates.
What would you do with Zach Abbott, Kate? Because I'm like you. I love him being part of the first team squad. I think he's got tremendous potential and a tremendous future if he's guided in the right direction. Would you keep him around, or would you think about sending him on loan if you were the manager? Because I see the likes of Tyler Bindon that's going out on loan. I think they think so highly of Zach Abbott that they want to keep him around because they think he's that good. But does he need those minutes, do you think? Because, like you say, that was his first Premier League start this season, and we're approaching the end of a season. Where is he going to get his minutes from to help make him that better player?
But everybody keep getting injured by the look of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, they didn't send him out on loan. That does say to me that they want him in and around the squad. I do think he's got some really important and influential mentors in that team that can do him the world of good. I agree, the minutes are going to be short, and I don't know if you remember, but going right back to the beginning of the season, I think I put him down as my one to watch, and that probably hasn't massively come into fruition. But you can't send everybody out on loan, you know, and I would say he's in the squad, he's getting the minutes where he's getting them, and we just, as fans, we have to accept that. Whether they send him out on loan next season, there are so many things that are going to come into play around that decision. Where we finish, who our manager is, who is in our recruitment team. You know, there are so many variables that you can't possibly say.
What division we're in?
No, Mollo, no. You know, yeah, we'll be sending him out on loan in the Championship if we're in the Championship, will we? Don't know why I'm laughing, that's not funny. But, yeah, for now, it's like we say with Dyche, it's like we say with a lot of things, isn't it? You just got to get behind the kid. One of our own.
I think the fact that the away fans applauded him off is going to be really good for his confidence, because I don't care who you are, he's still at the end of the day a 19-year-old kid, and to have that behind him and being supportive of him will do him the world of confidence, I think. So that was really good to hear. That I didn't realise that happened, Kate. Didn't come across like that on the TV, so it's good to
Probably
hear that.
Couldn't hear the Forest fans over Leeds fans' abuse they're giving him. They're good at, you know, they're a brave bunch, aren't they?
Another player I do want to talk about, and this player was indirectly involved in all three of the Leeds goals, and that is Morato. Mollo. My impressions were that you think you've touched on Aina not tracking the runner for the first goal, but the second goal did seem to be Morato who was the one that was slow getting back to try and get to the goal scorer. The third goal was so obvious, him and Sangare just standing off watching. So to a certain extent, I do assign some blame on Morato for at least two of the three goals. But where you were there, of course, what did you make of his performance? Because again, to me, it just raised more question marks than it did answer.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't on the scale of his Wrexham performance, which was kind of one of those catastrophe games. Because he also, trying to put a positive spin on part of it, he also headed away virtually every corner Leeds put in, which is basically his job. Problem is, over a 90 or whatever number of minutes it is, you worry that there's an error in there or a switch off. I think it was the third goal, if I remember rightly, where he came out quite wide and put in half a tackle, right, where he kind of swept his leg round instead of getting stuck in. And Sangare obviously did. We know Sangare doesn't make tackles, he jabs his foot in every now and again and gets a foot on the ball. He did it right in front of the away fans again, right in front of the away fans. He chickened out on a 50-50 when he could have. In fact, it wasn't even a 50-50, it was all in his favour. He could have gone through, smashed the man into next week and got away with it. And you just begging for him to go in, and he just didn't. It's so frustrating, because that is the one area of his game on a day like that we need to see. I don't care what anyone says about who's a better player. That is a tackle Ryan Yates would make every single day of the week, and twice on a Saturday kind of thing. But it's getting back to Morato, he won loads of headers. You got to put it into context as well. Again, I'm not making excuses for him, because of what was going on in front of them was so bad at times. It was almost constant pressure with the occasional break. And our comments at half time were, we're 2-0 down, but there's goals for us if we want them, because Leeds are absolutely crap as well. We're on a real off night, and we've opened them up a few times without being able to pass the ball more than 2 times together, kind of thing. Gibbs-White has always worked his socks off, didn't have his best night, but still managed to open them up once or twice. We said at half time there's goals for us here, and then that third goal, it was Morato, it was Sangare. I'm not at all sure about the keeper. It was obviously Anderson trying to be too clever. The keeper dived ready for the cross that never reached that far. I'm not putting any blame on the keeper directly. It was just a string of minor errors that all of it could have been avoided if one of our... I'm not actually sure how tall Morato is, but I know that Sangare's 6'4", Morato's well over 6 foot and built like a brick outhouse. If one of them puts in a proper English-style Premier League tackle, it doesn't happen. As simple as that. It was kind of in front of us, wasn't it, towards the halfway line. So yes, it wasn't good. I think the issue with Morato, to be fair, and to a lesser extent Milenkovic, is I think they both are going to look significantly better if they've got Murillo alongside them, because Murillo complements the type of centre-halves they are. Morato is kind of a less experienced, less developed, more mistake-ridden version of Milenkovic, isn't he, in a sense? They both do a similar job, and unfortunately neither of them are quick, and neither of them... Well, Milenkovic reads the game very, very well normally, but he was missing for the first goal. It just seemed to catch him by surprise that the right back who'd run about 40 yards suddenly appeared on his goal side. So yeah, I think, like Kate said, it was a collective. It's harsh to blame one player, but you can unpick each goal and say we could have stopped it there, or we could have stopped it there, and there for one of them. And it's frustrating because of the importance of the fixture, and Chelsea alluded to it. Leeds kind of, they out-battled us and out-fought us, which is unforgivable. They didn't out-fight Anderson. Anderson didn't, he might not have won every tackle, but he didn't have his best night, but he did fight for everything. And they just, I hate the phrase wanted it more, but unfortunately every single one of their players wanted it 100% and gave everything, whereas one or two of ours were found wanting at certain times, who we've already named with the half-hearted tackles and whatnot. And it showed. And running off the back of how many players, the right back to score is amateurish. Could the goalkeeper have been further out of that? I don't know. It's one of the few times I haven't watched the whole game back, because I stayed up there and I've only got back last night, so I haven't watched the game back yet. I don't know if
I do want to mention Sangare. We talked at Brentford a couple of weeks back, Mollo, around. It's very difficult for... You know what's coming, don't you? But how Sangare is difficult to string 3 or 4 performances together consistently, and I think Brentford was decent, but Leeds kind of fell below that standard, and we were laughing at Brentford, weren't we, that he always seemed to be marking the ref, and there was a lot of synchronisation between the movements of the ref and Sangare. Did you see a lot of that at Leeds?
Yeah, second half especially, because he did have some good first touches. It wasn't a horrendous game by any means, and if a centre midfielder can play as well as he has done 4 times in every 5 games, then we're going to be fine. It's just unfortunate this game was really not his best game, and he wasn't as bad as he used to be. And in the first half, he probably had a little bit of something on the ball at times when we were trying to get back into it. But second half, he completely went missing. We joked about 10-15 minutes into the second half as Sangare dug a hole to hide in. And we said, no, just find the ref and you'll find Sangare. And we all looked up, and it was that classic thing again where he jogged up with the ref and jogged back with the ref, and it was that. And it's just unfortunate the way he always looks when he's struggling. He seems to mark the ref, but that's just a silly little thing. It was just a bad day at the office for everyone, so it's unfair to single him out. But I still find it really hard. I'm going to phrase this carefully. I find it really hard to get on board with having a number 6 who won't smash anyone when he gets a chance in a 50-50. I just don't understand it. Right from Sunday League to international football, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. We can make all the excuses in the world that he can do everything else, and yes, he's a far better technical player than Ryan Yates. I'm not saying we need to replace him, but if ever a game was crying out for Ryan Yates, it was probably that one. But that's easy to say with hindsight, isn't it? Because Leeds were terrible as well, and the American fella, number 11, he spent more time on the floor than he did on his feet. It was embarrassing.
You almost have to match.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the magic sponge was on working overtime, wasn't it, for Leeds? And that's what you expect when you go there. I won't say too much about their support and the sort of things they sing, but I think we all know my feelings, and especially my daughter's feelings about Leeds United fans. So we'll leave it at that, because it's not all of them. But that little section to the right of us, six-fingered brigade.
Yeah, go on, Chelsea.
No, I was just saying, you have to almost like play Leeds at their own game, don't you? You know they're going to come out all guns blazing, and you know that they're going to show that aggression. And like Molo was saying, obviously Sangare, whether it's a confidence thing, whether he doesn't want to get injured, we've got no idea. But he doesn't kind of drill himself into those tackles, does he? And that's the problem. Whereas a bit like Yatesy, who can ruffle a few feathers, break up play, get in them challenges, ideally that's what we needed, and we did need to kind of play them at their own game, and with that, and I think that would have helped a lot.
It's just not his game, is it? It's
Yeah.
just not his game.
Well, I mentioned about it being a bad day at the office for everybody, but I don't think it was a bad day at the office for Lorenzo Lucca, was it, Chelsea? Because he came on and scored on his debut, and it did put a little bit of a spark back into the performance, albeit it was a little bit too late. Do you think he offers us some hope, Chelsea, going forwards, given the fact that he scored a really good header on his debut?
When I saw that he was coming on, I said to Dad, oh sod, I said first debut, I said we're 3-0 down, and he's coming on thinking, God, what on earth am I going to do here to try and help this situation? But bringing Hutchinson on as well, I was like, brilliant. Hutchinson, get them crosses in. You got this 6'7" giant in the box, just keep drilling him in and something will happen. And it did. And it was one of them moments where me and Dad were screaming at the telly like, please just bring him on, just bring him on, he'll do something. Because when you look at our squad, we're not the tallest, are we? Let's be honest. And then you got him coming in all his 6-foot odd glory, and he actually done something. And like you said, it does offer hope. I know Jesus had started to play a little bit better, but again, he wasn't getting on the end of anything really. And obviously Lucca coming on and scoring on his debut, and if you can do that in your first game, then what's the future going to hold? But yeah, I thought, yeah, he was brilliant, and he does offer us hope. And like we had all been screaming, we just need a striker.
Yeah,
So-
we'll talk about the Wolves game coming up shortly, but let's hope he gives us a bit of Lucca in that game. Just before we move on, Kate, a word on Netz. He did come on and make his debut, didn't he? I think you touched on it earlier that he looked okay and he looked quite composed. And I think I mentioned this on Dawes' show the other night. I think you guys may have watched, not sure you did, Molo, but I know you did, Chelsea and Kate. And I applied this to Zach Abbott. And this could also apply to Netz as well. In an ideal world, he won't play another minute this season because you want that back four to play every single minute of every single game now, because they are so dependent on that back four being fit and available. But what you did see of him, do you think he can be a reliable substitute or replacement if he's needed?
He looked promising, didn't he? You know, coming into that circus, and he gave us a little bit of hope. So I would say yes, and I would say that actually the changes that were made when they were eventually made were positive. They did help, you know. I mean, that would be my major criticism of Dyche, that I think, Molo, you said at half-time, even being 2-0 down, we did feel there were goals in that game for us, and that is for me where I would have liked to have seen the changes happen.
Yeah.
That we went out in the second half and, you know, just go for it, because you're already losing, so just go for it. And I don't feel that did happen. The changes were much more gradual, but when they did come, they were good. Yes, Netz looked good. Lucas scored a great goal, and there's a definite argument for him featuring, if not starting, against Wolves, which I'm sure we'll come on to. So, yeah, I mean, even Ortega, I mean, it's not a great debut, is it? You know, to let 3 goals in. But I didn't think that I don't want to say, I mean, I think he should have come out for the first one, and he's wrong-footed for the second, but I think they looked okay. I think Netz looked okay. I think Lucca looked promising. I think let's not write Ortega off just yet.
We normally do Mollo's moment, but I'll actually let you off this week, Mollo, if you.
No, there was a great one.
So, there is. Okay, go ahead. Then. Far away.
It's not quite football, and I think Kate and Chelks alluded to it. It was the substitutions because of where we were sat behind, not directly behind, but behind where the dugouts and whatnot were. When they made the subs, it literally. We were just rolling, so they were stood there, and you had Lucca and Hutchinson, and someone next to you goes, "Oh, it's Dad and his lad coming on as subs," because it literally looked like someone twice the size, and it was just that image, because he is a seriously big specimen, not just tall. He looked tall next to Hutchinson, of course, but he's not a beanpole, is he? He's built, and it was very interesting. But yeah, that was it. That was the highlight. Because beyond that, the only football highlight was taking the mick out of Leeds fans when they celebrated when they hit the bar, when they kept showing the replay of them hitting the bar, and everyone was going, "Whoa!" Hey. But that came back to bite when they did score and showed the replays of the goals, and it bit hard, unfortunately. But yeah, it was just hilarious. Just a bit of moment of humour again when you just saw. It was like, you know, I'm not the tallest, as you know. It was like me being stood next to Peter Crouch or something. It was very.
You just wanted him to kind of reach up and hold his hand, didn't you?
Yeah, it was that. It was like Dad and Lad walking across Trent Bridge. That picture from Gary Boldy, the Falls of Gary Boldy, or it looked like he could have just leant over and just picked him up, you know. But yeah, there wasn't much to celebrate. Apparently one of the pies was nice, but I didn't get near it because their facilities are absolutely garbage and make Peter Taylor stand look like an executive suite. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Leeds generally. It's one of the teams I really didn't want to lose to, even though I knew we probably would up there. But 4 on aggregate.
Yeah, right. We do have to do it. I won't spend too much time doing this, but if we have to give somebody credit for their performance, who would you give that to? Start with you, Chelsea. Don't need to spend too long on giving our Man of the Match awards out.
I'll go with.
Okay.
I've thought about this, and part of me wanted to go with Lucca, but I'm going to go with Morgan because of all of the players out there. I do think he did try. He tried some stuff. Okay, and I was screaming that at one point. Just somebody try something. So, for me, I am going to give it to Morgan.
Okay, Mollo.
Yeah, he was definitely our hardest working player, as he always is. But unfortunately, I wanted him to try and pass to a red shirt, and he didn't do that too often, so I'm going to go Lucca as well.
I think I'm going to make it a hat-trick for Lucca purely because he deserves credit for his debut goal. Anderson clearly wasn't going to get it from me this week. I was dismayed at his corner kicks. I think he needs to work on those.
So I think he played, what did he play, about 35 minutes, Lucca? He's already
mayhem, didn't he?
He's already halfway to scoring as many goals as Agar Jesus has scored. Yeah. I know that's harsh, but it is true.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the Premier League.
Right. Okay, let's get on with the quiz then. Kate, if you have one for us this week, please.
I do. Okay.
Edu,
Morgan Gibbs,
did you say?
Sorry?
Did you say Edu or I do?
I did not say Edu. I'll try.
Yeah. That's a whole new podcast, isn't it, that one? Sorry.
Give me a second. Right, okay. Morgan Gibbs-White, who has played for both Wolves and Forest, scored his first goal for Forest against which team? Simple question. So, yeah, Morgan's played for both Wolves and Forest, but who did he score his first goal for Forest against?
Okay, let's ponder on that one, shall we? We'll come back to that one at the end of the
League
show.
goal or just goal?
Just goal.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a League Cup tie. And I'm wondering if it's a penalty. But that's just my initial thoughts.
Count though, do they?
Possibly not. Right, Chelsea, have you got an FPL update for us, please?
Yes, I have. Well, to be fair, we actually all had quite a good week, which I'm quite surprised about because sometimes we really don't. But Simon, you've kept in 7th place this week. 67 points you got. Fernandez with your highest scorer with 20, which I think you had as well, Kate. Molo, you've gone up to 8th. You're 1 place behind him.
Oh,
See, the battle is on, look. Not long left. Yeah, you got 71 points. Harlan was your top
Blimey.
scorer because you had him as captain, so he scored you 22 points.
That's laziness, not changing it.
Well, it worked in your favour, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then, see, now I'm annoyed. See, I've gone down to 25th place. I am falling off, but I actually had not a too bad week for me, and I scored 66 points. You know, which for most people is quite rubbish for their week, but for me it was actually quite good. So still a bit gutted about that. Kate, you also had a good week, but you went down again to 29th place. You had 68
At one
points.
point I was in 27, and then all of a sudden I went down. I was really cross when I looked this morning.
I know, but I feel like everybody else in our league also had a good week. So I was like, yes, I must have gone up at least like 2 places. And then I looked and was like, oh no, same with you as well, Kate. Right, and I would like to mention we have a new leader on our
I saw that, yeah.
So that's my cousin, and I did message him with a screenshot of his team with playing no chips whatsoever with 116 points he got. And all I did was text him. I said, what on earth is this witchcraft that you're doing? Because how he done that? And he captained Palmer,
Yeah.
who then scored him 40 points.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could not believe he done that. Part of me is like, are you like working on something? Have you got like AI or ChatGPT to help you or something?
No. I don't think there's any justification for that because he wasn't even guaranteed to start the game.
No.
I just think it was somebody who was not paying attention to their team and
Yeah.
lucked in.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said to him because I said, "What is this witchcraft?" And he was quite sheepish. Actually, he didn't really give too much away afterwards. So I bet that was a complete fluke, knowing him.
Yeah.
So yeah, but don't worry, he won't let me live it down. So that's great. Thanks, Jack. And I would also like to remind everyone as well: game week 26 is a double game week for Arsenal. So use your chips wisely.
And Wolves.
And
If you
Wolves.
fancy
And
throwing a few
Wolves.
Wolves
Don't say
players
that.
in.
But yeah, so make sure
You
you
know
use your
that he's
chip.
packing their team of Wolves players, though, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Can you imagine? Oh God, let's not think about it. But yeah, use your chips and your transfers wisely. And also, it's a very early deadline, so it's Tuesday at 6 p.m. So make sure you do your team as soon as possible. But what I would like to ask, as it's a double game week, anybody using any chips this week?
I am considering one, Chelsea.
Oh, are you
I
going
would
to hold it close to your chest?
I will decide later whether to play my triple captain this week or not.
Okay, right. I don't know whether I'm going to do my wild card because I need to shuffle around a few players anyway. So I'm thinking, is this?
I might bench
So-
boost if they're fit.
So there's a way to play FPL, right? The first half of the season is all about experimenting, putting players in your team who score points, who taking out players who don't score points. When you get to the second half of FPL, that's when it becomes very strategic, when you start to get your double game weeks and your blank game weeks in, and that's all arranged at short notice, and when there is a certain strategy you can adopt to play your chips to maximise your advantage, and that's very strategic, and that's what I like doing as well, is planning that in advance, you see.
See the wizard over here. Look, Molo, you're watch him. You're only a
it's
place
alright.
behind.
I'll keep with my system. So I'm writing down every Premier League team one by one and trying to remember if Gibbs-White scored.
Yeah, but yeah, just remember the deadline, everybody. Double game week for Arsenal and Wolves if you do fancy it. But no, don't bother.
I mean, some Forest fans are going to be brave and throw a few Wolves defenders in, aren't they? Because
Well,
yeah, that leads us nicely onto Wolves. Are you done? Sorry, Chelsea on FPL.
yes, all finished. Thank you.
Excellent, good update. Thanks for that. So let's talk about Wolves then, because he's winning everything this week. You can imagine how bad things will look on the surface if Forest don't win. With everything that goes off on social media, everything that gets written about Dyche in the press and the team in general, winning is everything, isn't it, this week, Kate?
Yeah, it is. It really is. I wish it wasn't, because it makes me more nervous, because again, we've spoken a lot about how Forest classically do well against the bigger sides, but we oh my God, we have to win on Wednesday. We really do. It just feels massive, not just in terms of Premier League points, which we do need, because ultimately 3 points against Wolves aren't worth any more than 3 points against any other team. But just because of where we are and where they are and all the stuff that is surrounding our club at the moment, we really have to win by hook or by crook.
Agreed. I think the fact that Wolves are down the bottom, beating them makes no difference to their position because so it's not like you're taking 3 points off a rival team in the relegation spot because we're far enough ahead for them to not be a concern right now. It is the likes of West Ham and Leeds and Spurs, isn't it, to a certain extent, that they're the teams that we now need to be looking out for. And thankfully West Ham are playing a high-flying Man United at the minute, and it's not often you want Man United to win, is it? But so things are. If you look at the form of United, they are. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat West Ham, which makes Forest beating Wolves even more important, doesn't it, Mollo? Because it restores that 6-point advantage over West Ham, leading into another difficult fixture, which of course is Liverpool.
Oh, it's terrifying, isn't it? Because they're playing far better now. They're playing with nothing really to lose. There's no pressure on them anymore other than to be professionals. Their manager's got... Because when we played them, all their players at the back looked massive, but they were very disjointed, not very well organised. They were better than they had been. And thankfully, we managed to win that one. But they're looking more organised. They've got that young Mane kid he's only 18 and he looks a massive prospect. They've got... I don't want to build them up because they're bottom of the league by some distance for a reason. But the difference between the bottom teams and the mid-table teams is marginal, and that could come down to attitude and, dare I say, be careful how I say this because I don't want to get all the hate that some people get for being honest, this kind of entitled nature of our crowd these days at home. Going to Leeds, apart from the vitriol that they spout, it reminded me of what we were 2 years or so ago in terms of supporting the team when they needed us. If we're not winning, I'll predict, if we're not winning against Wolves, or God forbid they score first in the first half hour, the crowd at best will go flat, and if they score, then it could well turn. 8 or 10,000 fans that turn up these days since we were in the Championship seem to have an expectation way beyond the realism and the capabilities. And it frightens me a little bit. That said, if we settle down, play anywhere near as we can, one of our centre forwards, and we've obviously got a guy with a goal every 30 minutes at the moment, but if one of our centre forwards can remember where the goal is while we're attacking and putting chances, and we've got something resembling a full strength defence, we should be good enough. But that doesn't mean anything if we don't turn up and do the business. One thing I don't think we'll see from Wolves, from what I've watched recently, is they won't come flying in at us the way Leeds did. They're a footballing. They've improved because their defence is more organised, but they're a footballing team, aren't they? They're not going to go flying in for tackles the way Leeds were and that kind of thing. So the likes of Sangare can do his thing, hopefully, and we'll be hopefully okay. That's what I'm hanging on to anyway. Plus our goalkeeper's got a game under his belt, having not played much in the last 12 months, so that will help.
I'm like you, and I just want a normal game. If you think about Palace, they were up against it for 45 minutes or more due to being down to 10 men. You think prior to that it was Arsenal who were top of the league, and a point against Arsenal was always the main objective. I just want them to play a normal 11v11 game of football where every man on their pitch does their job to the best of their ability, and if they can do that, then I think Forest have got every chance of winning, of course, because we know that at home on their day, when they're on the front foot, they are a decent team and they're capable of beating anybody on their day. We just need to see them do it, don't we, Chelsea, this week?
Yeah, so I was just having a little look at the table in terms of points and that, and it's not taken points off Wolves because we all know like the situation there, but you're looking at everyone around us like Leeds, Tottenham 29, us on 26. You know that them 3 points, we can then go level with them. And again, that's when then goal difference comes in. That's why I was so gutted that it was. Thank God we did claw one back. But again, 3-1 to Leeds, it just gives them that edge in terms of points, because we know goal difference at the end of the season can be everything. We don't know who's going to be playing. Is Murillo going to be fit enough? We're not 100% sure. Looks like Sells is probably going to be out. Consistency, that's what I'm struggling with at the moment. You know, we can win against Brentford. Yeah, we drew against Palace. We did perform well. Obviously, Nico got sent off. But then we have a game like that against Leeds. Obviously, I know we didn't have our strong back four. I've got well, like Molo said, if we lose against Wolves, then I hate to say it, do we have to start talking about relegation?
We'll come on to that in a second, but just before we do, I want to ask you, Kate, you put in our WhatsApp chat earlier around, there are, at the moment as it stands, Sells is out and there are doubts on Murillo. So there's question marks in terms of whether they retain the same lineup against Leeds in those positions or not. But also, is there a call to make up front? Does Lucca start? Because he can offer us something different, something that Wolves wouldn't necessarily have been able to prepare for, albeit a cameo role at the end of the Leeds game. Would you make a change, considering goals are what Forest need, and Jesus, with all due respect, is not scoring those goals right now? Would you make that change up front and bring Lucca in for a start?
I think I would. It's so hard, isn't it? I'm a fan of Jesus. I am, and I think he's a great player. But we need to win this game. We only win this game by scoring goals. So I would be tempted to certainly either start him or give him a big amount of time in the second half. We have no way to predict what he's going to do, and a lot of it will be dictated by injuries. I think, he said that in the press conference, for those of you that haven't seen it, he said that Murillo is touch and go. He's doing well, but they're reassessing tomorrow. Of Sells, he said he is also doing well, but we are not talking days with Sells. So we know Sells isn't going to be a part of it. We are unsure about Murillo. We had a striker who came on for a debut in an awful game and got us a consolation goal, and it was a good goal. Great ball by Hutchinson, good header. This is what we need. We need it. We've spoken previously on the pod on what it would be like to have Chris Wood on the end of Hutchinson's balls into the box. This is as good as it gets right now. So yeah, I would, Simon. I would start him, or like I say, give him a really big chunk of the second half. He's an option we haven't had before. He looks promising. He's scored a goal. Let's give him a go.
That's the question. If you start Lucca, do you start Hutchinson?
I think it's the other way round.
I would.
Yeah. I think you start Hutchinson. That's almost a given. It's just who do you put up front.
Yeah, I would. I think Forest have to be offensive, don't they? They have to take the initiative. They have to press forwards, and you've got if you have two good wide players who can ping crosses constantly into the box for a new tall striker, you've got the potential there to cause a bit of havoc in that Wolves defence, and they need that. I think that's why I'd like to see Lucca up front. Don't get me wrong, I love Jesus. I think he's a great player, but I think now is the time to start thinking about mixing it up a little bit and doing something a little bit different. Where do you stand there, Mollo, on that one?
I think first of all, Hutchinson a definite for me. I think if Hudson-Odoi's fit, then with Hudson-Odoi on the other wing, and then it's just a case of who do you pick up front. There is an argument because Lucca hasn't played a lot, but could he give us an hour? He did look quite useful all round, wasn't he? His touch wasn't bad at all most of the time, and he was a handful. But would it be better him coming on than having been? Because the other thing with Wolves is that the sort of team you need to run in behind quite a lot, aren't they? And that's what Jesus does give you, because they've got some big units at the back, but they're quite static, so you can get in behind them. I mean, sure, Dyche will know that they'll have done their homework and decided what to do, but I am very, very keen on the idea of Lucca coming off the bench much earlier this time if needs be, but hopefully it will be to increase the lead rather than try and win it back or preserve it. But there is an argument. If you're a centre forward, your job's to score goals, and that's exactly what he did, albeit just one goal so far. But
What do you do? What do you do? He's doubled his tally for the season, hasn't he? So let's see if he can double it again.
We have to offer a balance for you, so let's think of the unthinkable then. If Forest don't win, or God forbid they lose, what are the ramifications of that? Chelsea, you touched on it earlier. Are you resigned to going down, or have you got question marks over the manager? I know it was touched on Dor on the other night, which I was on, and he and I both agreed that you have to stick with Deitch now, just simply down to the fact that we're running out of games and there are no viable alternatives. But then you look and you see a report from TalkSport that are suggesting that if they do lose, then Deitch is very much on the hot seat, and that's a reputable media outlet. It's not like your content creators. That's a national media outlet saying that. So what do you think are the ramifications there? If are they as good as down? Do you think if Forest lose, given the blow to the confidence that will?
I think that's the thing. It's the confidence. That's where I would be struggling with. And again, it's Wolves. We should be beating them. That's not it's not blowing our own trumpet, but that is what should be happening. When you look at our squad, when you look at Milenkovic, when you look at Murillo, when you look at Gibbs-White, they are all fantastic players. It's not as if we're like, oh yeah, we've got a real big hole in midfield here, or one of our centre backs, yeah, he just keeps leaking goals in and stuff. We have got good players on that team, and we know that. But for some reason, I feel like at times they don't know that. And like when you said about Dyche, I believe that we should stick with him till the end of the season. I think that will just create more unrest if we don't. But yeah, he is going to, be in the hot seat effectively, because any manager would be. But we are running out of time in terms of games. It was very easy, last year. It's like, yeah, but we're not even halfway through the season yet. It's fine. And now is when we need to start to be knuckling down and going, just give your all on that team. Just on that pitch, just do it. Just show everything that you've got. Give 100%. Even if you're a 50% skilled player, give me 100%. Because I'd rather have a 50% skilled player give me 100 than a 100% skilled player giving me 50. And you need to just lay everything out on the pitch and just give your all. And that is what we all hope for the Wolves game. But I don't want to think about relegation. But at the same time, I have also been preparing myself a bit as well. But we'll see.
Personally, I'm not quite there yet, Kate, in terms of thinking about the R word, but an early goal would be the massive boost on against Wolves.
Any goal. Early,
from anybody.
Late, I don't care. Score a goal, score another one, please. I can't even contemplate relegation. People are talking about it when you go to these games. People are having their moments where they lose it and they scream, we're going down, da, 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 da. And some people are even really it's okay. I'll still go. I'll still support them. I'll still buy my tickets. Yes, of course we will. That is a given. But no.
Not for 10,000 newbies, it won't be.
We, as Chelsea said, we are a Premier League squad. We are, certainly our starting 11 and some of our second string bench players. We're a Premier League squad. We need to show it. We need to turn up. We need to fight. We need to give our 100%, and we need to do that not just in games against Liverpool and your big six. We do need to do it when it is all in for a scrap against Wolves. Okay, so I can't think about it. It makes me. I literally can't think about it. Even talking about it now, my brain's starting to go.
Sorry.
I can't talk about it. I can't think about it. We're going to win on Wednesday.
I read somewhere, Mollo, Forest have got the 13th most expensive squad in the world, but that's got to go out the window now, hasn't it? That doesn't mean anything when you're involved in a relegation scrap. So, final word on Wolves, I'll give you, Mollo, in terms of what's going to happen.
Well, wouldn't it be classic Forest to drop points at Wolves and then go and beat Liverpool, which I'd take? It's just between Wednesday and Sunday, the meltdown of all the, like us, the online managers, would be horrendous. I think we are in a relegation fight, obviously. Do I think we'll go down? It's more about looking around you of who else there is. I'm very concerned about West Ham's form. I think Palace have got way too much now that they've settled down from the transfer window. And the one team whose supporters are convinced they're going down, and they're the classic too good to go down. I keep seeing everywhere Tottenham fans saying we're sleepwalking into relegation. everybody keeps saying we're too good to go down, and we're clearly not. So I'm hanging my hat on Spurs, because that would be very, very funny as much as anything else to watch them go down with their NFL stadium and their plastic fans. It would be funny. But
It would be.
4 points for the next 2 games, that's what we need.
Yeah, right. Quickly, match predictions then. Start with you, Marlo.
0-0.
Okay.
Okay.
Everyone's jaw drops, of course. Kate, you're going to pick your jaw off the floor and give me a prediction.
2-0 to Forest.
And Chelsea.
1-0 Forest.
I'm going to go 2-1 Forest. I think Forest will go 2-0 up. Wolves will get a late goal back, and it will be absolutely panic stations for the last 5 or 10 minutes. That's my
I
prediction.
don't see Wolves scoring if we've got Morato back either, though, to be fair.
Yeah,
Let's hope we have.
Right. Okay, we're coming to the end of the show now. We'll do the quiz, Kate, plus your any other business. Do you want to reiterate what was the question again? Who did Morgan Gibbs-White score
Yeah,
against?
Morgan Gibbs-White's played for both Forest and Leeds, but who did he score his first goal for Forest against?
Well, I'll give you the floor, Marlo, because you've been
Right,
doing the prep.
I'm going
for this
Premier
one.
League, because you didn't say not to, and I can't even remember who we played in the Cup. I've got a feeling it was Burnley we played. But I narrowed it down to Brentford, Bournemouth, and weirdly Spurs, just because they were high scoring early games. I'd crossed out loads of teams where we got battered 5-0, 6-0, 3-0 in that first season. So I'm going to just throw caution to the wind and say Brentford.
I
That's
thought
probably
that
wrong.
very first of all. That clicked it. I thought
Because we lost,
and
we had
then I-
that spell of losing 3-2 in 2-0 up or 2-1 up, didn't we? So I'm
Yeah.
going Brentford, just as a
I'll go.
guess.
Right, 2 for Brentford. I'm going to go for Wolves, actually. I've got a vague recollection he scored in a League Cup game. Or was it Wolves or was it a penalty? I'm not really sure, Kate.
Okay, so we drew 2-2 at home on the 5th of November 2022 against Brentford, where Morgan Gibbs-White scored his first goal in the Forest shirt.
I thought we lost 3-2.
2-2 draw.
Right, I've got a great clip of
And circled
I've got a great-
Brentford, Bournemouth.
I've got a great clip of Chelsea celebrating there, so that's going to go on social media.
All right.
Right, anything else you want to bring up, Kate?
Not for me. I did watch you on Door last night, and I really liked what you said at the end, Simon, and I absolutely subscribe to that. We have to. We've said it before. We got to get behind them. We got to get behind Daesh. Yes, we can talk about it. We can complain. We can rant. We can worry. We can do all these things. They need us. Get behind them, everybody. On Wednesday, get behind them. They need us.
You know, Marlo, anything final from you?
Just to reiterate and reinforce what Kate said, I think people almost forget we were 5 points from, was it 9 or 10 league games when he came in, and we were cut adrift in the bottom 2, let alone the bottom 3, and we're currently hovering just above that. And if we're still hovering just above that after 38 games, I think we'd all take that and then dust off the passports for Istanbul again.
Okay, last but not least, anything from you, Chelsea?
Echoing everything that everybody said, just get behind them, and we know we can do this. We are Forest, and we just need to get behind them.
Right, that's it from us for this week then. Don't forget you can now catch us on YouTube, where we will have our full episode unedited for you to watch. Don't forget to obviously catch us on Spotify and Apple too. We'll be back with another show, I suspect later in the week, where we'll be talking about the aforementioned Wolves game, plus we'll look forward to trip to Istanbul. In the meantime, everybody, thanks for listening and bye for now.